Okay, everyone. So welcome to our webinar today, uh, hosted by ShipHawk, Blueprints to Evaluating a Fulfillment Management Solution, Part 2, TMS Evaluation Do's and Don'ts. So this is Part 2 to our WMS session we had a week or so ago. Before we get started today, we will just a few housekeeping items I wanted to cover. We will be sending out an email with a link to the recording from today's webinar. You can expect to see that in your inbox within 24 hours. Please chat with us using the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen to submit any questions that you have. We will try to save time at the end to get to all of them. But if we don't answer all of your questions during the call, we will reach out to you after the fact to make sure that you get the answers that you need. If you have any other issues or need technical support today, please email that email address that you see on the screen there, learnmore@shiphawk.com, and our team will get back to you ASAP. And finally, we do want to know what you think. So at the end of the webinar today, a post-event survey will pop up on your screen. So if you can do us a favor and please take a few seconds to fill that out, as we appreciate any of your feedback on our events and want to continue to improve on these sessions. So we very much appreciate that. So before we jump into our discussion today on TMS, I do want to find out where everyone is on their TMS evaluation journey. I do recognize that some of your names are with us currently, and that you have been working on implementing our TMS for your business. So I do want to understand where everyone else is, so we can make sure that we tailor our content today. So there's a little something for everyone. So a polling question that you're probably going to see pop up on your screen is where you are in your evaluation journey. So if you can please take a few seconds and select your answer, whether you're in the researching stage, the evaluation stage, or you're actually implementing with us, that would be fantastic. Just a quick introduction while you folks are filling out that polling question. Did want to go through our mug shots here. So just to start off with myself, my name is Mike Panici. I am Director of Account Management here at ShipHawk. I come from this industry, very familiar with WMS and TMS. Look forward to speaking with you all today. Joining us is Justin Driffel, who is our account executive here at ShipHawk, and also Rob Meyer, who is our senior solutions consultant. So I'm joined by two individuals with a plethora of knowledge, and I very much look forward to hearing their feedback. Kelly, our marketing specialist, is going to launch poll results here in just a moment, which should be popping up on your screen, which it looks like 67% of you are in the researching realm of things, while 33% of you are in the evaluation. No one implementing, interestingly enough. So that's good. We welcome those newbies here, and hope this is valuable for you all as we go through today. We are going to focus on key areas to consider today when you are evaluating a TMS solution, one of the critical components to your fulfillment. And calling out, there are a lot of solutions out there. It is hard to navigate through all of those and figure out what's best for your company. So we're going to go through some best practices, high level stuff, but then we're going to get a little bit more granular, and we're going to talk about things that you should strongly consider from a workflow perspective in the TMS. So what we're going to do is, from a discussion topic standpoint, we're going to cover several things here. We're going to take you through the TMS evaluation process. We're going to talk about understanding your workflow, identifying what TMS differentiators there are, things to focus on, what separates TMSs from each other. We're also going to talk about, not to sound like a glass is half empty, but we do want to, let you know what pitfalls and mistakes that you want to avoid. And then we're also going to go through a Q&A session, if you will. So that way it'll let you folks use the widget on your screen to submit your questions, and we'll get back to you, of course, with answers. So going through the TMS evaluation process for a moment, we're talking high level stuff right now. So there are, what you folks can see is on the screen, there's about 10 different stages that we've identified, all of which are extremely important, all of which serve different purposes. So when you're looking at evaluating your TMS, you want to start off by involving your key stakeholders, right? That's involving the key people who are going to be using it, and the key people that understand the value that it's going to bring to your organization. Those that can champion understanding, cut through any politics and understand, yes, we see the value here. We're going to position this to leadership. So stakeholders are very important there. Identifying challenges and inefficiencies. And this is something that I see a lot of folks not really hone in on during the process, which is they don't identify what pain they currently have today. They know that they need a TMS, but they haven't identified all the exact reasons as to why. That's something, while it seems almost cliche, that's something that you definitely want to have a checklist to make sure you're checking off all the things, all the gaps, if you will, in your process that the TMS is solving. And then not just thinking about the immediate needs or thinking about today, but also thinking about tomorrow, right? You have to really think about scalability, which is, where is my company heading in the future? Where are we going to be expanding? Is there a possible merger on the horizon? How are we going to be adding employees? Are we going to be adding new products that we're going to be shipping, which requires a new process down the road? These are all things that you have to consider. A lot of folks are so focused on today, they forget about where they're going a year from now. So that's very important to think about. And then gathering metrics and KPIs surrounding what you're doing today. Sitting there and using the reporting tools that you currently have and saying, okay, here's what I know my productivity is, or here's how I know how many shipments I'm doing, or what my costs are to do those shipments. Those things, those are very important because that all factors into ROI for the long term. And then determining the must-have features. There's a big difference between needs and wants, as we all know in life. And one of the things that you can't miss, okay, and I used the word you can't miss, is what you require in a TMS, right? There's bells and whistles, but then there's requirements. You have to have this. That is something that you cannot miss. I want to just hit the pause button for a second because I want to bring in my account executive, Justin, for a second and just kind of let Justin give his feedback here. Justin, I know you've had a vast amount of experience working with customers of all facets. Looking back at these 5 different identifiers that I spoke about, which ones stick out to you as the most important? What's your feedback on that? I'm curious to pick your brain on.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I'd say, in the years and customers and people evaluating that I've spoken to, I'd say that there's one big do and one big don't that stand out, and I'll tell a little bit of story about each as well. So the big do that stands out is fully documenting your internal processes, because no matter what, Rob or myself or any other solution expert or account executive will never know your business as well as you do. So you need to ensure that your process for today and your ideal process in the future are clearly documented and then clearly explained to the account executive, solutions expert, whoever you're working with on the other side of that evaluation. Because if you are allowed to document your own process, that allows us to ensure that we can replicate it and enhance it and actually demonstrate it to you. Hey, this is what you should be doing, and this is what you could be doing. Whereas if that's never clearly documented and clearly understood on your part, it'll never be clearly understood on our behalf. And then that's when you run into problems during the implementation phases. So that's a big must do for anyone evaluating their current TMS or future TMS. You really need to make sure that your current process and future state are clearly defined. That's the big thing that everyone must do. The big thing that everyone has to avoid is certainly ensuring success for down the road. We frequently see people see their TMS or shipping solution as a band-aid solution. Hey, I need to get someone who can print a UCC 128, and that's all I'm going to look for because that's my big problem, right? So they'll find a solution that can do it, and in the meantime, they don't realize that in 6 months and a year from now, we're growing. We're going to be more business to business, or we're going to be more business to consumer. They're going to start working with big box retailers like a Target and Amazon. There's so many things that businesses forget about when making an evaluation because they're so focused on solving their biggest problem that they create further problems down the road. So the biggest thing to avoid is nearsightedness when you're going through your evaluation, because at the end of the day, this is a long-term partnership, right? Your goal should not be to find a solution for the next 6 months. It should be to find a solution for the next 3 years. No one wants to be switching or re-implementing their solution every year. It's not a very good use of your resources. So I'd say that's the biggest thing to make sure your team does do, and your biggest thing to avoid when you're going through an evaluation like this.
Well said. Well said. You read my mind on the long-term objective thing. If I had to pick one of those five, that would be mine, is thinking about the future. Band-aids are no bueno.
Yeah, we've had enough people go through a short-sighted evaluation, and then 6 months to a year later they come back to us and they say, hey, you guys were right, let's do something now. And now you've spent probably 3 times the amount of money that you needed to if you would have just gone with the right solution to start. And maybe that wasn't us in some cases, or it was. Regardless, it's just about making sure it's a long-term objective, because you don't want to have to re-implement and spend your resources twice on a project like this.
Amen to that. Something else to point out too is that when it comes to the actual cycle and evaluation process of identifying a TMS, you want to make sure the demo means something. The demo, it's not just there, to look pretty. You want to see a demo in real time, right? Like you want to see that the software has the ability to handle your process. Because if a demo can't do it, how can you expect the production software to do it? Which I think is a fair point to highlight.
100%.
Right? And something else to also understand is the reputation of a company. And I'll tell you, while this seems in a way cliche and underrated, or overrated, I should say, it's actually underrated. And I'll tell you why. Because right now, in our industry, there are companies popping up left and right. Everyone wants to hop into the logistics software solution space for TMS. It's just like they're popping up left and right. The problem is how many of those companies really have the experience in handling a TMS solution, developing a TMS solution, but most importantly, supporting a TMS solution. I think there's a big gap there. There's too many TMS companies trying to make a quick dollar. So I think doing your homework and evaluating the company itself and their reputation online, and how, but most importantly, how long have they been around? Are they new kids on the block that are just learning this stuff, or have they been in the industry for over 10 years type of thing? That stuff matters. That stuff's important. So that's a very important one, I think. Confirming timelines and key points of contact, right? And it's funny, this is the one that flies under the radar a lot of times, is everyone's so focused on, is this TMS right for me? They forget some of the most fundamental things, which is, when do we need to be live by? And can we meet those deadlines to actually be live? And by the way, do we have the resources? Like, who's going to spearhead this project from our end user internally? Do we even have the manpower to support this integration? So those are key things that are huge, that impact how successful you are right out of the gate. And then, prepping your team for change, right? We all know this story. Change is there's no gray area with change. Either you adapt to it or you don't. And a lot of folks, especially, when it comes to people that have used software solutions for a long time in warehouses, they typically don't want to change. And I completely understand it. But it is inevitable because our industry is changing and it's evolving. And you need to evolve with software. You need to work smarter, not harder. So you got to prep your team for change and make sure everyone's on board. And if there's any pushback, make them understand this is inevitable. It's important for our company to grow and scale. And then defining what success looks like, finally. And that's something that is also missed, which is companies don't stop to sit there and think, what do I want my ultimate outcome to be? Right. And this kind of runs tangent with determining long-term objectives, right? That we were talking about earlier, which is, what is success for us now? What's success for us in the future? Rob, I've teed this up nicely for you here on point 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I want to pick your brain for a second, because I know you've been with ShipHawk for quite some time. You've seen a lot of things. In your opinion, which of these stick out to you? And give me your feedback on what your advice would be for those out there in regards to these points.
Well, I think with starting at 6, I think 6 is highly influenced by many of the points previous to it. I'm thinking about when you're going to see exactly how it's going, what it does, how it helps you out, how we do it better. And I think that for it to be relevant, you're going to have to understand, what is it? Why are we here? Why are we taking an hour plus and even more in discovery to ultimately evaluate a shipping solution? Like, why are we here? Why spend the time? And so certainly we could just give you the razzle dazzle of ShipHawk, but we really wanted to land for it to make sure that it's really, again, hitting those must-have features, that it's solving that pain that you're trying to address. And I think that's going to be really relevant to that. For anything dealing or kind of referring to the actual implementation of it, like, hey, we've pen to paper, we've signed it. Like, what do we actually have to do? Like, what is this change management? What is this process here? Things to talk about there, obviously reputation. I think that's going to be big. What is the experience of that? I think that's a core competency of our company, is the experience side of it. And that's going to be really important because you're going to have to actually implement it. You're going to have to use it. You're going to live it. I think that's incredibly important. I think other things to consider here for us, again, where it's not, these aren't going to be unique to us, thinking about project management and resource management as well. Obviously, we want to have the right people in the right places, certainly during the evaluation, also during the implementation itself. Getting the right people, but also not having too many people as well. We want ownership. So if you have, and I've experienced this, if you have 20 people joining a weekly or bi-weekly call, no one owns anything, nothing gets done. Getting the right people with the right roles for the right parts of the project, really going to be big. And then, obviously the preparation. And then point 10, defining what it looks like here. Again, that's feeding way back. Again, that I think that success is about the pain of, solving that and what must it do. Like there has to be a reason why we're doing this. And again, I think it all ties back to some points of which are very macro and all encompassing here. So a lot of words there. Hopefully some of them hit. Those are kind of my bits for the moment. So yeah, Mike, I think you can take it from here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Rob. That's great. And I would like to point out that, all of this, not only is from our experience between Justin, Rob, and myself, but, we interviewed dozens of TMS experts and also based on their experience, in successfully leading thousands of evaluations and implementations. We've gathered this data. These are some of the things that you folks are going to see in our buyer's guide to help businesses like yours navigate through the process. And we are going to share that link to download the buyer's guide for evaluating the TMS before you leave here today. Keep in mind. I believe it was it Michael Phelps, I think, was the most recent. I think the original quote was Joe George that said, "It's not how you start, but it's how you finish." And when it comes to TMS, it's funny. That's almost the reverse, because in the TMS world, it is how you start does determine how you finish. And by that we're talking about how you receive orders. And when it comes to order workflows and how you receive orders from your own customers, that's going to dictate what your TMS provides downstream. And what we've done is we've really identified, based on our industry, the four major methods in which customers actually receive those orders. And what people who are evaluating TMSs don't realize is a TMS is not just solely a shipping platform. It has tentacles. It can expand, like for instance, up to the e-commerce level. So, for someone who receives the majority of their orders through an e-commerce website, they have to sit there and say, hey, do I require the ability to freight rate or parcel rate on the e-commerce platform? Because, hey, this is 2024. People want to know how much shipping is going to be. So, for ShipHawk, for example, we can provide that. We can provide those rating tools into the e-commerce platform. So what you have to stop and think is, okay, so I require rating up front on the e-commerce website, but how does that impact things downstream? In other words, if I'm a high volume, if I'm shipping, let's say 100,000 parcels per year, and I need a fast way to scan an item into a box, well, my TMS solution has to provide that packing capability, like ShipHawk does, right? And that's where scan packing and automation, rules engines, that's where those types of things come into play. That's where you have to sit there and say, okay, are my items, are they standard or are they hazardous materials? Am I shipping lithium-ion batteries, for example? Does my TMS support those hazardous material features, or do I have to actually go outside of that TMS into, let's say, like a UPS World Ship or a FedEx Ship Manager to actually support generating those hazardous shipping labels or packing slips per se? Or my let's say online furniture store, for example. A lot of them use lot numbers or serial numbers. Does my TMS support serial numbers or lot numbers? Being able to scan items or scan the serial number or lot number and have that data flow over onto the packing list, etc. Does tracking, obviously, especially in the e-commerce realm. I know I do. I just ordered some clothes the other day. I've been hitting that tracking link left and right, trying to see where my clothes are. Are those tracking numbers being returned from your TMS? Is there a branded tracking page that I require where I can put marketing materials on to my consumer base out there? TMSs like ShipHawk, we provide all these things. So it's these kinds of tentacles that I'm talking about that are very important, that dictate a specific unique workflow that's all TMS related. EDI. EDI is almost an industry within an industry. EDI is like an industry within the fulfillment umbrella. And when it comes to, EDI, you have to first take into account who's my EDI partner. I know the two major ones out there are SPS Commerce and True Commerce. Can my TMS support a workflow based, supported around one of those two EDI partners? If not those two, what then? Can we think out of the box on that? Compliance documents. There's, something else to consider is when it comes to retail compliance documents for retail stores. You have UCC 128 labels, you have GS1 labels. You might hear some folks refer to them as compliance carton labels. There's all sorts of even retail compliant packing lists in some case. You have to make sure that your TMS can support those. And if they can't, do they leverage a third party to support those, which is a very slippery slope and a dangerous thing, because now you're talking about extra cost, extra integration, extra implementation? Or can your TMS actually provide those in their own library? ShipHawk can do that. Just as a side note, the timing of printing is things that people forget about. In other words, by timing of printing, what we mean is, at what point do I need this compliant label to generate? Can I afford to have that? Can I afford to have my shipping person hit ship and then have the document generate? Or do I require to scan an item into a box, scan to close that box, and then have the carton label generate, slap it on the box, and put it on a pallet? Right? These things matter. Timing matters of when those compliant carton labels actually generate. And the ability to multi-level scan, whether it's single-level scan or multi-level scan. Single-level scan would be scanning like an item into a box or scanning an item onto a pallet. Multi-level scanning would be scanning an item into a box and scanning that box onto a pallet. We typically see that multi-level scanning flow in the EDI realm, especially when you're shipping to major retailers like Walmarts of the world, for example. So you have to make sure that your TMS can accommodate those types of things. And then not only that, but updating the ERPs with all that data that you just scanned and that we just shipped. That has to be written back into the ERP. And most specifically, TMSs have to be written back into the ERP in a manner that can accommodate and be swallowed up by the EDI provider. Why? Because then there's ASNs. There's advanced shipment notifications that are also required for major retailers. Carton labels, compliant labels, that's 50% of the battle. The other 50% of the battle is automating those advanced shipment notifications, because to have a warehouse team manually commence those, not scalable. It's too much effort. You need to automate that. You need your TMS to be able to accommodate that. You need your TMS to be able to write that data back into your ERP and then have it in a format that your EDI partner can go in and grab and then automate the advanced shipment notification. So it's all about how your TMS, not only what your TMS can do, what it can print, but how it coordinates with your partners involved in the workflow. EDIs, e-commerce are two huge ones. Amazon. Amazon is the elephant in the room that no one can move, and it just gets bigger, bigger, bigger. That's Amazon. They are huge, and they keep coming out with programs that have to be supported. And the question is, can your TMS support those? Right? ShipHawk, the one thing I absolutely impresses me amongst many things is that ShipHawk does a fantastic job of integrating with Amazon programs. Most of the TMSs out there that I see do not accommodate all the Amazon programs. Some are only supporting Seller Central versus Vendor Central orders. For those of you out there who aren't aware of what that means, if you are an Amazon partner and you have your item out on an Amazon website and you go and buy that item on the Amazon website, that order is going to flow down to either Seller Central or Vendor Central. Now, if you don't have an Amazon integration in a TMS, that means that your warehouse people have to go out to that Amazon Seller Central or Vendor Central website and manually process the order and generate the labels to go with those boxes. Extraordinarily unscalable. Okay. That is where an integration is huge in the TMS. And that is why it is so important that TMSs are able to support these things, because right now most TMSs are not able to keep up with the amount of programs Amazon is creating. And it is a lot of work to develop to that. And I mean a lot. Programs that are support, the main programs that Amazon has today is Amazon Transportation, where they leverage sorting facilities. So if you're strategically located near a sorting facility, they will charge you shipping based on coming from that sorting facility and such. So it's a way you can save on costs. ShipHawk supports this. Amazon Shipping, where Amazon's actually the carrier itself, almost acting like a UPS or a FedEx, USPS, etc. Amazon now has shipping, and I do expect that to continue growing. We support that today. Seller Fulfilled Prime, also known as the acronym SFP, or some of you might know it as Amazon Buy Shipping. It's a tomato type of thing. Same program. We support that today. Merchant Fulfilled program, that we support those things. Or Fulfilled by Amazon, where ShipHawk can even support if you send large shipments on pallets, for example, to an Amazon fulfillment center. So that way Amazon ships on your behalf. When someone buys your product, we can support that. We can support generating the compliance documents and required documentation and the rates and so forth on your own Amazon account to ship to the Amazon fulfillment center. And you can also rate shop on your Amazon account in the ShipHawk software. So these order workflows, we're going in depth now. These order workflows are so important. Again, it's all about how you receive the order in the front end determines what you need from a TMS on the back end. Those things are critical. And then finally, you have your old school brick and mortar, or some folks get their orders via email, phone, fax. And quite frankly, talking about another tentacle, the ability to quote at a sales order level or a sales quote level. That's TMS functionality that people don't even stop to think about. How can, does my inside sales rep, if they have to provide a freight quote, do they call downstairs to their warehouse supervisor to get a freight quote? Do they send an email? Again, not scalable, too time consuming. You need a tool right there integrated into your ERP sales order screen that says, here's my order. I want to see what my freight quote options are. Mr. Customer, you can send it via LTL or parcel, and here's the different rates and service methods. ShipHawk provides all these things. And of course, you need to go through the different packing options, whether that's scale integration or scan packing. There's different packing options there that you need to explore, and then also look at the ERP integration. And is that TMS automating the invoice generating from your TMS? So that way no one has to manually commence sending that invoice to your customer. Again, all triggered by the TMS. But most importantly, when it comes to how orders are received via email, phone, fax, what it really comes down to, carrier choice. Okay. Carriers. Look for TMSs that are continuing to expand their carrier base. Okay, I can't say that enough. Continuing to expand their carrier base, because in this evolving industry, while some folks are married to carriers, you will find another carrier with better rates. There's too many carriers, it's too competitive. You need to have a TMS platform that has a wide variety of carrier connections, carrier API connections. Carrier choice is so crucial in this industry. So real quick, what I would like to do is I would just like to ask Justin. Justin, I'm gonna put you on the spot for a second. So I know I just went on a soapbox stand and went into some real granular details here. So I'm just wondering if you can share with the audience. Do you have a customer by chance? Can you think of a customer who had a positive experience, kind of walking through, someone that really went through each of these workflows or one or two of them, and that really nailed the points where it really ended up being a success story in using ShipHawk, where they thought through these things on the front end correctly, involved the right people, implementation was a breeze, and nailed it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot that comes in mind. I'd say, the biggest takeaway from looking at all this is, making sure that your use cases are fully supported, right? Getting oh yes, we have EDI compliance from your shipping solution doesn't really do you a whole lot. Or yeah, we can customize the label. Doesn't exactly tell you specifically if they can solve for your use case. So a great example, the customer like Hewish Outdoors, they came to us, very clear documentation of their requirements. And instead of having a checklist of yes, this solution can do that, yes, this solution can do that, they want to understand how we could do it. So they understood, oh, not only can they say yes, we support custom labels, they sent us their labels and we were able to replicate their labels for them, right? It sent us exactly what they needed, and we were able to confirm exactly that we can do, right? They could have just gone out to every vendor and said, yes, hey, do you guys support customizing labels? Gotten a checkbox on their Excel and then moved on from there. However, they learned throughout that process with us that while we said, yes, we can customize their labels to their requirements, most of the other vendors who said, yes, they can customize labels couldn't customize the labels to the requirements that they actually needed it to be done. So, when you're looking through your requirements of your need to have, wants to haves, nice to haves, understanding that getting a yes isn't exactly good enough. You need to understand how they're achieving the outcome that you actually need. You can also look at a customer like La Sportiva, who came to us for EDI compliance. They went to a separate warehouse management and shipping solution first because they said, yeah, we can print EDI documentation. And then after about a year of that, they realized, well, they can print it. It's pretty manual, and we're having to hire people just to get it out the door. Whereas when they came to ShipHawk, they were able to repurpose that employee to be a better picker, packer, and shipper to get more orders out the door and automate their EDI process completely. So you can look at your checklist of your requirements, create an Excel, but at the end of the day, it's how these different solutions are meeting your outcomes, not just if they can. Because just because you can print a label doesn't mean it's going to be quickly, or just because you can write back to NetSuite doesn't mean it'll be consistent. So learning about the way that they integrate into your ERP, the way that we're able to customize your label or not customize your label, or care specific integrations of, hey, yeah, we integrate with UPS, but we also integrate with this specific type of service level of UPS or FedEx or different regional carrier. Understanding those nitty gritty details of your business and ensuring that your exact needs are being met rather than just a checklist of yes, we can or yes, we can't. I'd say those are the biggest takeaways, and some customers who did it the right way and got the right experience after learning from their mistakes for the first time around.
That's fantastic. Rob, I want to pick your brain for a moment here on this, especially because you serve as a consultant in so many aspects. I know in our industry, I feel like e-commerce, EDI, and Amazon are probably the ones I personally run into the most, probably e-commerce, especially since COVID hit. Um, what would be your advice to folks out there who have a e-commerce or EDI or Amazon or a mixture of these? What would be your advice to help those out there? Be sure that they nail all these points. I'm just curious to get your feedback on this.
Well, it's obviously to have a platform that can work with them all. It's and not to lead you in to say one is better than another, but I think it's going to be really key. I think there are piecemeal solutions out there that can handle individual components, but the level of technical debt is immense and untenable. I think at the end of the day, I think that it's going to be a lot easier to work with a solution that can speak all these individual pieces plus the ERP itself. And so I think it's going to be really important on the e-commerce side, having a solution that can help with cart conversions, real-time rating. Mike, you speak to talking about all these different carrier relations, bringing that to the site with rates that feel reasonable, fair, and then guide shippers to guide your customers to the right rates. That's really key. on the e-commerce side, because I mean, as you know, it's a monumental task to get these and to continue to get the conversions of the cart. We want to help there, or the solution should be tailored to that. On the Amazon side, we spoke to it pretty well. As well, thinking about again the requirements as they are continually evolving and becoming more complex and more numerous. You're going to really want to look for something that has just ready to go out of the box solutions for the being proactive as well, especially with the Amazon shipping as well, where a solution should always be moving at the same pace as Amazon, which on your own or somewhere else can be pretty difficult. Same with EDI as well. I mean, you're certainly free to manage that manually, upload that into SPS Commerce's, True Commerce's, whatever platform you end up going with or currently use. There's those routes as well, but being able to provide the information back to it for seamless transmission of advanced shipment notifications and your retail compliance labels for some of those vendors, that's going to be really key as well. So again, it comes back to one platform to manage it. Again, you could do this all manually, have many different systems, but I mean, why would you? So those are my thoughts.
Again, yeah, well said. I mean, it really is about consolidating everything into one platform and then having a streamlined solution. Something to point out too for those listening in, when it comes to Amazon, a question that pops up is, does ShipHawk support Amazon connecting into the ERP? The answer is no. That's where you would use a connector like a Celigo, for example. They're a very popular connector that folks use to connect Amazon dumping orders from their seller and vendor central into their ERP. Where ShipHawk comes in is we treat Amazon almost like it's a 3PL carrier in a sense, where it displays with all your other carriers or on its own, and it will say like Amazon-UPS ground, Amazon-USPS second day, et cetera. Just it lets us, we provide the ability to not only communicate to Amazon that you're shipping on your own Amazon account, but it's being recorded at Amazon that it got shipped on your account. So that way you can keep that protocol up as being part of that Amazon program. And of course, we're generating the compliance documents if required to go with that. So I just wanted to paint that picture for everyone out there on the Amazon realm. So moving right along, as we kind of head toward the end of our presentation, I mentioned earlier there's so many TMSs out there now, and so many new ones, right? Which is kind of scary because it's like, what experience do these TMSs bring to the table, and are they even up to speed with all the things that we've talked about? The answer is most of them are not. But you heard Rob say earlier they can piecemeal some of these functionalities out, or they specialize in some of these areas. But can they do it all is the question. And I think one of the things that will help those listening in is, do these TMSs have products on top of their TMS solution that can truly bring value to your workflow and your business process? There's a handful that come to mind here. Freight auditing, right? That's actually an accounting aspect. And it's something that probably keeps people up at night, because the process of actually going through and comparing your parcel invoice and your LTL invoice to that in which you were quoted, and then identifying the reasons why the invoice doesn't match the quote, is an absolute nightmare. It's a disaster, and so many things can be missed. ShipHawk has a freight auditing tool. We call it ShipHawk Audit. It does audit and reconciliation and reporting. And it also eliminates the need for multiple people to do it for you. So it actually can save you on payroll. And it's so streamlined, and the reporting is so powerful that it can literally shrink down the amount of people in an organization that need to do it. And by the way, we also do the recovery for you if needs be. Other things to consider is, does that TMS not only have auditing, but what's the integration to, let's say, scales, right? Or dimensioners. What if an organization has thousands of catalog items and SKUs? They don't have the weights and dimensions, or maybe they only have the weights, or maybe only half of their items have weights and dimensions. What does that mean? Well, parcel carriers, major parcel carriers, they charge based on dimensional weight. And if you only have the weight of the item, then your quote is going to be off versus what your contract is with that carrier. So you need to record the dimensional weight, the weight plus length times width times height. ShipHawk has a dimensioner that you can actually scan your item, go through the thousands of items in your warehouse, and have that data import, like for example, into your NetSuite item inventory record. And then once that data is in there, then you can use the ShipHawk TMS to accurately get your rates and streamline your process, whether that be scan packing, whether that be shifting items into a package and then having those weights and dimensions automatically calculate, things of that nature. Very important. You have to ask yourself, can the TMSs do that? Can your TMSs, if we just want to use a scale, can we hook up to that scale and have the weight automatically import? These are things you have to take into consideration, and also ask yourself, what's my ERP data integrity, right? Do I have these weights and dimensions actually stored inside? E-commerce connectors, right? We mentioned earlier, do you require a rating on at your shopping cart when your customers are checking out? Do you need to provide those freight quotes, those parcel quotes to your customers on your shopping cart? Well, if so, does your TMS actually have a built integration for that website? If not, that means you need to develop it on your own using a REST API of some kind. So you need to have the web development capability. So again, another tentacle. Does that TMS already have a plugin integration where you can just download it and keep it running? We listed BigCommerce, Magento, Shopify, SCA, and SC right here. So SCA is Suite Commerce Advanced and Suite Commerce. So all the major ones. Rob, just out of curiosity, I want to pick your brain on this for 2 seconds. From an e-commerce connector standpoint, which one of these do we see the most of, in your opinion? Which one, on top of that, coupled with that question, which one is most difficult to develop to when it comes to rating functionality?
So conveniently, it's going to be Shopify because they have the greatest amount of market share. So naturally, we're going to see a lot of that. The toughest one to develop to, the way you phrase that question is, again, Shopify, because ultimately it is a closed down ecosphere. Everything just works, right? I think about it kind of from a perspective of using an iPhone. The experience is great, but ultimately not particularly customizable. The other two do lend themselves pretty well to development. Magento, being open source naturally is one of them. Same Suite Commerce and Suite Commerce Advanced. Those two, same with BigCommerce as well. They're a little bit more friendly to development as well. So, in summation, yeah, Shopify is the most popular. It's something that works out of the box with a solution like ShipHawk. But if you're looking for something with a ton of customization as well, the other three may be a better choice. So.
Yeah,
I got on that one.
You read my mind. Shopify, from my experience, it's almost like an app. It's almost like a giant app, and you have to build an app to connect into the app, and that's very time consuming, very costly. So I couldn't agree with you more there. And then finally, earlier you folks heard me mention carrier connections. You heard us talk about it a little bit. And I think the things that you have to ask yourself again is, what's that network of carriers? Does my carriers, will they be able to connect through that TMS to the carrier APIs? And what kind of network and expansion, is that company expanding that network from a parcel LTL and even a FTL standpoint, a full truckload standpoint? Those are things to consider. How, there's more and more carriers that keep popping up, just like Amazon has more and more programs that keep popping up. And there are mergers and acquisitions also happening out there in the carrier universe. So it's constantly changing, constantly expanding, and you can tell a lot by a TMS by its willingness to keep evolving with that. So making sure that your carriers are actually a part of that network is super important. And if not now, when will they be? Or what can they do to accommodate those things? Um, Justin, I just want to, again, before we get to the end of this presentation, anything you'd like to touch on pertaining to any of these four things that I covered today? Which one, from I guess the easiest way to ask it is from a ROI standpoint, which of these really stick out to you that you see applying to customers out there that can really up the value of a TMS solution?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say first and foremost, if you're just strictly talking ROI, it would most certainly be freight auditing. I think, the reason we have it is based on customer feedback of, some of our larger customers, us going on site and asking, hey, who's that person in the back office over there in the warehouse? And their answer being, oh, that's Stacy. But what does Stacy do? Stacy audits every shipment we have. So, hundreds of thousands of shipments just manually being looked over one after another. Uh, things like that, I think you hear about all the time. So if you're strictly talking about ROI, not only having more accurate auditing, more accurate usage of your time management of your team, right? That person can now go more towards an actual accounting role or can actually start helping operations more. I think that's the biggest gap we frequently see of, even if you are doing it, you're probably just spot checking it, or if you're not spot checking it, that's a lot of manual labor that you're currently going through. So that's the biggest, just pure ROI standpoint. I'd say the other big benefit I commonly see is working with a solution that's growing and changing and evolving. Almost none of you will find the 100% perfect solution that can do every single thing you need, right? There will be some sort of gap or something that they can do but don't do too frequently or something along those lines, whether that's ShipHawk or anyone else. So having the expectation and understanding that no solution, or most likely no solution, will do every single thing you need. So it's about choosing a partner that's growing and evolving their solution, whether that's building out new integrations as carriers expand their own portfolio, or building out integrations with e-commerce platforms as ERPs evolve and need different integrations, or having dimensioners that can actually grab your weights and dims for you at time of packing and shipping, or even up front. Working with a solution that's constantly changing and evolving. So your business, as it changes and evolves, can have a solution that works alongside it rather than vice versa. And you trying to play catch up, or the solution trying to build things custom for you as you keep evolving. That's the most common feedback we get from people who leave a competitor for ShipHawk, is that, they end up not wanting to pay for crazy customizations every month or 6 months when they have a new requirement that their business has. So,
Yep, couldn't agree with you more. Freight audit was the one that also popped into my mind. The ROI runs so deep there, whether that's from a productivity standpoint, identifying operational gaps, identifying carrier gaps, identifying, late shipments, invoices being wrong, replacing salaries, right? Reducing employee count to facilitate. The ROI is just tremendous there. So I couldn't agree with you more. Um, pitfalls I want to talk about here for a second. You know, I just want, Justin, I'm going to let you kind of run through this for the audience out there on things to avoid. Again, we don't mean to sound like a glass is half empty, but it is important. There are landmines that you can step on when it comes to evaluating a TMS. Justin, walk us through these real quick.
yeah, I'd say, we focused a lot on finding a solution that can meet your requirements, not only today, but also down the road. But, in the process of getting now to the future, you're going to have to actually implement the solution. So this is mainly about ensuring a successful implementation, right? Whether that's, hey, ensuring the solution you're going to use either already integrates or has the capability of integrating into your ERP or shopping cart or wherever you'd like it to integrate into, whether that's for rating, for packing, shipping, whatever it may be. Then also planning your own internal resources and making sure that you have a team available for weekly meetings with your shipping solution to check in and make sure that your project internally on your end is going smoothly, which goes straight into timelines. If you're a big Q4 shipper because you're in e-commerce, make sure that you can go live well before that. So your team not only has a new solution, but a well vetted out, fully flushed out solution well before that. Obviously, your reputation of your vendor is huge. Understanding, hey, is this the type of solution and company that we can work with long term? Because at the end of the day, this is going to be a partnership. And the last point here is funny. Incomplete testing actually is never possible. You will always be testing. If you choose to go live before testing is complete, all you're doing is testing while you're going live. You need to make sure that whatever solution you have the amount of time and resources available on your end to properly implement it. And you need to make sure that whatever solution you're going to choose has a team behind that solution that can make sure it works. Because at the end of the day, software is just software. It's the people behind that software that makes it work for your business. So I would say those two kind of different things of, hey, can the solution I'm using implement this properly? And can I, and on my side, implement this properly? Are the two big questions to ask yourself.
Well said. My 2 cents on this, folks. Don't be that organization that doesn't test before they go live. Testing is huge. Testing is important. This is software. You got to test it before you use it. So please always test. That's my soapbox of the day right there, Justin. I'm not letting you run. I'm not letting you off the hook yet, Justin. I would love to hear a quick wrap up before we conclude things. So overall, based on everything that we talked about today, what's your advice to everyone out there who's looking for a TMS?
Yeah, my biggest advice, if I could boil it down, and specifically of things that I've seen before, customers coming to us at one point and leaving, or coming from a competitor, whatever it may be, whatever journey that they're on. The most common mistakes and things to focus on are, one, what's my business actually need today? And then two, what are we most likely going to need in a year or in 3 years? Three, can the team behind the software make it work? Because no solution is perfect. No solution will be 100% of what you need. So it's about finding the right partner, because it's going to be a long-term relationship, right? You ideally don't have a shipping solution for a year, right? You have it for 3 to 5 years to 10 years that can continue to grow and scale with your business. So focusing on what you need now, what you need down the road, and can my solution that I'm going to choose help me get there today, tomorrow, and do the people behind that solution make sure that it functions accordingly? Because I'm sure everyone on this call at some point in time has had some bug in some solution, and getting good proper support to fix it immediately is the difference between enjoying a solution and actually having it work for your business versus spending a week to a month just trying to troubleshoot something. So I'd say those are the most important things if we're going to take away anything.
Well said, my friend. Well said. So it's time for a little Q&A out there. I know we're about at the end of time here, so wanted to give a minute or two to let you folks use the widget on your screen to submit questions to us, so we can give you some quick answers while we're on the call here. And while you're submitting those questions, please scan this barcode that you're seeing on the screen here. This will let you have access to our Fulfillment Management TMS Buyers Guide. That contains a lot of the information that we spoke about today. And you can also email the learnmore@shiphawk.com if you'd like any additional data on top of that or have any additional questions. So just a couple of quick questions that came in that will take 2 seconds to answer. Was, how does having a WMS affect shopping for a TMS? Great question. I'll take this one, Justin, if I may. The answer to that is it depends what you're using the WMS for. In other words, are you using the WMS for only picking and you expect the TMS to handle the packing and shipping element, or are you using the WMS to pick and pack and you only want your TMS to ship? So you want to make sure that when you're going for a TMS, that the TMS can support receiving pack data or item data, either or one or the other that supports your given workflow. So, yeah, that's a great question. That seems to be the only one I received on the immediate. So any additional questions, feel free to email learn more at shiphawk.com. And we look forward to working with you and supporting you on your evaluation journey. And I thank everyone for joining us today, including Justin and Rob, and look forward to working with all of you. Have a great day.